Hello YouTube, the Blob here, and welcome to a 9th Age Fantasy Battle Report. 4,500 points. Vampire Counts versus Warriors of the Dark Gods. And first let me start by throwing this photo up here. And just briefly talking about being able to get back into doing battle reports. I finally have the capabilities. It's been quite a while. But this tournament, which is what this battle report and the next two will be, this tournament was a one-day, three-game tournament hosted by Waldorf of Wargaming from the Balcony. And that's him there slaving away, unassisted, trying to make the pairings for the first round. So yeah, there's that. So, this first game, Warriors of the Dark Gods, it was against Jeremiah, Mr. Jeremiah Nelson, tuna sandwich. And you might see this on his battle reports, you might not. But we were table one, and we were kind of joking about how this might be the only time that we're both on table one. I certainly am not used to being on table one. If you've seen a previous video on this channel, you'll know I won a bunch of dice for being a big loser. And I use those dice this entire game, so don't fret on that. But anyway, my spells in this game, you're looking at deployment here, sorry, but my spells this game, Whispers of the Veil, Spectral Blades, Dance Macabre, and Hasten the Hour. What? No, sorry, Dance Macabre, Ancestral Aid, Spectral Blades. And then my opponent had Awaken the Beast, Swarm of Insects, Totemic Summon, and Break the Spirit. Yeah, alright. So yeah, you're looking at deployment here. I wanted to guarantee myself the turn first, so I just threw everything down. You've got 6 Vampire Knights, full command, Spectral Hunters, unit of 4 Spirit Swarms, or Spirit Hosts, I think is what they are now. They count as infantry. Behind them is 2 Bat Swarms, 46 Skeletons, Spear, Shield, Light Armor in the woods there with all 3 of my foot characters. Behind there is the Corpse Cart. 12 Ghouls. Behind them is 7 Ghasts with a champion. And on the end there, I believe, is 21 Zombies, 6 wide. Yeah, 21 Zombies. Here's a close-up of deployment. There's my left, and there's my center and right. You'll notice I deployed in these woods. Not really worried about being in those woods. I plan to just move on out and move forward. Here's my opponent's deployment. Going from left to right in this photo, the Barbarian Horseman unit. No missiles in this unit. I was kind of surprised by that. Behind them, a unit of knights with Frenzy, Chaos Knights Frenzy. In the woods there, dogs. Chariot. Right next to the chariot is his general on this 40 by 40 millimeter base. Behind them, another unit of knights. Another unit of knights. More dogs. And then way off to the side here, a unit of Lust. I think it's Lust warriors. And that deployment there kind of reminds me, I didn't mention, this game is encircle deployment, and the secondary is breakthrough. So what he's done here is he's thrown this unit off to the side, probably with the intention of just going for the objective. Here's a close-up of his deployment, horsemen and whatnot, and then the other side. So, moving through vanguards to turn 1, and I got the turn to go first. So I just push up with the fast wing of my army, all the cav. I'm not too concerned about this flank because the Barbarian Horsemen are kind of holding up the Frenzied Knights. But I do want my Knights, my Vampire, my Blood Knights, I do want these guys to get the charge. So I'm using the Spectral Hunters all the way to the right to sort of prepare to be a redirector, and then my Phantom Hosts are moving up to challenge the Barbarian Horsemen or maybe the dogs. The rest of the army just moves up like this. my bats down here beneath the Blood Knights, just sort of fluttering around. I like to save them if I can towards middle end game. But you can see I did not advance across the whole board. Matter of fact, zombies barely moved, ghasts barely moved, just to make room for the corpse cart. Then the bats jump over. Magic was about growing zombies and stuff, and I have a feeling I didn't get much of that, so you're not going to see much of that. But bottom of turn 1, my opponent moves up. Now, if you notice, the Barbarian Horseman didn't move, and the Frenzied Knights at the top didn't move. So they're frozen now, and now I feel kind of good. I feel like I've got 3 units to his 2 over there, including the Phantom Hosts. And if we're all staring at each other, I can work one of those 3 units up closer to him and force a charge one way or the other. Down here, the dogs, just right up in my face. I think he wants the zombies to come out and fight, or maybe the ghouls, not really sure. And then other dogs swinging around. But yeah, he's coming right at me. You can also see the general joined up with this unit of knights now. His magic phase, I want to say swarm of insects may have gone off, and a bunch of ghouls go down. What is that? 1, 2, 3, 4 ghouls go down. And then top of turn 2. So again, with my left, his right flank being 2 units to 3 in my favor, and I wanted to work a unit up, I just go ahead and send the Phantom Hosts in to the Barbarian Horsemen. If they fail this charge, I don't mind. They're infantry, they're not going to take dangerous terrain tests going over the wall, and my big combat unit's coming right up the middle to protect that flank anyway, plus the knights have a counter charge option, etc., etc. So I issue that charge. And down in the right here, I don't know. I need the zombies to do something else in the future, so I send the ghouls into their flank. You can see ghouls made the charge, and if you look top center, believe it or not, Phantom Host made the charge into the Barbarian Horseman, and I'm feeling real good about this. I got AP 1, I cause fear, and with normal moves, because I connected with this charge, I'm willing to inch up the Spectral Hunters, the sort of Ghost Fast Cav, and the Vampire Knights. And the rest of my blocks maneuver as you see, with the corpse cart behind, and now the bats have taken a position between the combat and the corpse cart. Combat, don't really remember much from Magic. Oh, I'm sorry. Go back. Alright, so you see this big block of mine, the 46 skeleton with spears, coming out of the woods here to anchor my battle line. In this next shot, you'll see 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18 skeletons down, plus a wound on my general and a wound on my BSB. This was that break the spirit spell that my opponent got off. I didn't much want him to have this spell, but there wasn't much I could do about it, so when I boldly strode out of the woods, about a quarter, maybe more, of the unit was cut down, and a wound on 2 of my 3 characters. So that sucked. Break the Spirit sucks. If you're a new player to the 9th Age, and your opponent says, I would like to cast Break the Spirit, you should immediately look at his face and say, no sir, that is not allowed. Magic phase for me. I put 10 skeletons back on that unit, gave him lightning reflexes, brought back some ghouls, lightning reflexes, and lightning reflexes on the ghasts. So good day all around, basically. In combat, ghouls take down the dogs. I'm not sure the dogs are in the next shot or not, but a few of them live and they run. Yep, there you go. And Barbarian Horseman fight. They do 3 wounds to me, but I take down a Horseman and we're all just sitting pretty. I'm also able to shift down a little. Not much, but basically I try to shift down to see if I can avoid the Frenzied Cav on the top of the shot from getting into this fight. You can see the chariot is not able to get into this fight from his position. And we go to bottom of 2. So my opponent doesn't move the frenzied cav up top, but he does send his chariot into the flank of my ghouls. That was just bad placement on my part. The chariot and both units of knights should have been in my front. And I just positioned him awkwardly. So yeah, chariot's in the flank of the ghouls, so they're screwed. And if you look, his general charges out of his knight formation over the ghouls because he had flying and smacks into the bats. And at this point, I'm looking at this, excuse me, and I'm pissed because I know exactly what he's doing. Bats, if they lose the combat, general's going to overrun, hit the corpse cart, and it's practically defenseless no matter how awesome it looks, painted or unpainted. Excuse me. And that's a very not cool thing because that's like I think he's 480 points or something. So yeah, another bad move on my part there. Basically making the charge for him easier by putting the bats there. If the bats weren't there, he'd need an extra 3 inches or more on a direct charge into the cart. So yeah, I sort of did that. That was kind of dumb. And then over here, bottom right, you'll notice in this photo, zombies are in the way. And that's basically, I think this was Dance Macabre. Again, I think he expected me to charge the dogs. I'm not sure. But I prefer the zombies to just be a speed bump. Here's a close-up of his general going after my bats and fear in my gullet. Game 1 of this tournament. Turn, what? Bottom of 2? Bottom of 2. There's the chariot in the flank of the ghouls. Don't much remember magic, but combat. Because of the -1 weapon skill, -1 to hit the bats, he only does 2 wounds. I do none to him, and we stick tight. So, no overrun in the corpse cart. Glorious. Miracles, whatever, glorious. And in the fight with the chariot, yeah, no more ghouls. He just ran them clean over. There they are. In other news, the Phantom Hosts put away the Barbarian Cav, caused them to flee. When they bounced through the Frenzied Cav, so no panic check there, but when they bounced through, there was no room for them to land on the other side. There they are. So, top of 3, I believe. And, feeling good. Feeling real good. So, spear block into the chariot, which reformed to face me before I made this charge. Spear block into the chariot, gas into the flank of his general. Corpse cart sort of shuffles out of the way of his general. And my cav again playing the silly game with his frenzied cav at the top of the screen. His BSB is up there. And then my Phantom Hosts, now they've got rid of the Barbarian Cav, just moved down the line and chaff one of his units of Cav. And my zombies get in the way of his dogs. They weren't allowed to march move. I would love to have march moved them to chaff his second unit of knights. But I was out of march range of the general. There's a close-up of jumping the chariot. And there's the gas going into the general. I don't remember now at this point what the general had, but I felt okay about this combat. Especially with the bats, sort of bringing down his weapon skill. Magic phase, I was able to put, 9 zombies up. Lightning reflexes on a few units. The spear unit, just in case one of his knight units wants to countercharge me. And combat, we just steamroll the chariot, no problem. And I lose a gas, and he does a wound to the unit, so we did 4 wounds to the gassed unit, none to the bats. And I'm not even sure I did a wound to him. So that was not cool. I really liked his gassed unit as a tanker, and now I've got his general one-on-one, and I don't know. next series of photos is basically bottom of three, and my opponent just sort of doesn't really move any of the other units he's got. Doesn't see a reason to go into the Phantom Hosts or send the dogs into the zombies or anything like that. So we just go to combat, and you can see he kills what, 1, 2, 3 ghasts and a bat stand, and I believe you can see a die under there. So I might have done a wound to him, unless he's counting down. But that's it. That was the end of the game, and believe it or not, it ended in 11-9 for me. Um, so holy smokes, game one of this tournament, uh, I come away with a win. Um, and even though it's not a big one, it's a win, and I don't know what to do next. So stay tuned for what, game two, and what happens at Waldorf's wacky tournament at Island Games. Thanks for watching, YouTube.